And we're live. Oh my goodness!
We
Listen
are.
to that. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Experience 2024. Welcome to Experience London 24, and welcome to the DEX Show live. I'm Tom McGrath. I'm here with Tim Flower once
Tom,
again. Good to see you,
always
Tim.
good to be in person.
Welcome to my town. Welcome
It's
to
good
London.
to be across the other side. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is very cool.
How's the vibe so far?
Vibe is amazing. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but the event is actually turning into an experience in and of itself.
Experience is an experience this year. If you're listening to the recording of this show and you can't see it, which you could do if you went to YouTube, we've got to tell you we're the tobacco dock in historic East London, as they say. Got some facts about it. Built in 1812 as a secure warehouse for imported goods like tobacco, wine, and ivory. It was a hub for piracy once upon a time. And, a lot of American colleagues and friends I know like to talk to me about Peaky Blinders,
Yeah.
Tim. And I got a very Peaky Blinders kind of vibe.
It is
there.
that kind of vibe. I was also told it was the local area for Jack the Ripper, which is interesting.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah. Jack also was a part of the history of... I don't know if he was involved in the tobacco dock specifically,
No.
but they have filmed stuff. They filmed Sherlock Holmes, which is a sort of Jack the Ripper vibe. They filmed... what else did they film? The World Is Not Enough, I believe. So and the other detail, which you might miss if you're watching it or listening to it, is this is kind of like experience al fresco. We're experiencing half outdoors, right? Like we're kind of indoor outdoor space here. If it rains, we're okay, but you do need your coat.
You're
and
all
your
dressed
scarf.
up for winter weather, yeah?
Yeah, you're a little more durable, I think, than me. It used to be American weather.
I've never been called durable, but that's...
Temperamentally more adaptable or something. I don't know. But it's a great pleasure to be here. And this is the second experience of the year. It's the second ever 2-day experience. This is the one experience happening in Europe in 2024. And why don't you tell the people, Tim, what's going on across the next couple of days?
Yeah, so outside of the event itself, like I said, we're here for employee experience, but the event really is an experience in and of itself. People are coming for certifications, for training, ask the experts, ask the pros, ask the product team.
That's
so you've
right.
got incredible access to people, as well as a networking with other customers, and then great sessions, great keynotes from not only us, but customers telling their journey, their story of how they're moving along, and great evening events too. So
Absolutely. Some of the world-leading digital workplaces here, as they are every single year, and we can't wait to see them. Open the show at 4 p.m. today, and if you're listening, if you're watching and you missed Experience, by the time you hear it, you'll be able to go to the Experience website, links in the show notes, and you'll be able to watch all the presentations, everything you missed, for free, and enjoy all of that great content. And we have some amazing guests. As we did in Boston, if you heard that show, we have 4 fantastic guests, 5 actually. This is 2 in 1 in one point. And so let's welcome the first of them. It's Tim McCormack, team lead at Edward Jones. Come see us, Tim. Welcome.
welcome, Tim.
Hey guys,
Good to see you,
how
man.
you doing?
How you doing?
Good to see
We'll
you.
reach across.
Good to see you
How you
again.
doing, bud?
Doing great. Good to be here in London with you.
Yeah.
You were just saying you got your own podcast, Tim. What's it?
I do. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
about
so-
travel. All about travel. Yeah,
Is this going to be
so-
an episode? I mean,
No, this will not be an episode to London, unfortunately.
why are you going to skip London? If it's
Well,
all
because
about
it
travel?
focuses on Disney.
What's your problem with London?
I have no problem with London except the food.
People say it's quite good
That's a
nowadays.
whole episode
you know.
in
People
itself.
used to always diss London's food, and
There's
now
some pretty
people
good food in
praise it
London.
quite a lot. I think.
It's actually not terrible, but it's rather bland for my taste.
Yeah, sure, okay.
And so that's my beef.
Thanks, Tim. Well, it's funny you mentioned travel actually, because we've had Tom and Logan from Edward Jones on
Yeah.
the show before. We've had a good time with them in Boston before. And first of all, before we get to you coming to London to see us here today, tell us a bit about your own role at Edward Jones and your part in the whole DEX transformation, but we know has been happening there over the last few years.
Sure. So I actually was hired at Edward Jones to do DEX.
Sure.
There were no DEX solutions. There was no endpoint monitoring solutions. And so I previously was with another company that uses Nexthink and helped bring in to that company. And so my journey with DEX is about 10 years and very much behind the scenes previously. However, I was hired at Edward Jones to bring in a DEX solution. And so about 4 years ago, I started down that journey with the firm and then started building the team. So I currently lead a team of 23 DEX engineers. We have a rather large, what we're hoping to become very soon, an XMO. And so very exciting to have the opportunity to lead the team. And Tom and Logan are my two lead engineers over DEX. And it's great. It's exciting. It's an exciting time with the MQ that just recently came out,
Sure
right?
thing,
As
yeah.
you guys know, it's blowing
We
up.
noticed.
Yeah. So it's a great time, and that's also why I'm here. I was in Boston, and you guys do know Tom and Logan pretty well.
Sure.
They're the technical guys. I'm the strategy guy. So I'm very much on the back side of it, and they're on the front. And so giving them opportunities, which they really appreciate, to speak with you and spread the word is great. But I felt it was important to come out to London to network and build more on that strategy so that we can drive more innovation at the firm.
Yeah, Tom and Logan, the episode we did with them was about going from what we called in the show road warriors,
Right.
Yeah.
IT guys on the move from office to office, like you used to have to do, Tim, to becoming like a more like automated backroom thing. Have you seen that evolution across a lot of your team? In
Yeah,
general?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And funny story too, Tom may smack me when I get home, but Tom and I actually at Centene worked on the road together.
Okay.
So some of those stories were stories that we experienced together,
Sure.
whether it was up in Beaverton and or down in Louisiana. But that was my journey as well. We traveled the country and we sat with people and built really the skill set that we have today to be successful with DEX. It's without having that empathy that prevents or puts the roadblocks up to be successful. And so absolutely, I encourage my team to go out and meet with those that we work with. So go out to the branches, go out and meet with folks that sit in HR or marketing or wherever it may be and learn how they work. You can't create a solution if you don't understand how they work.
I bet Tim has something to say about that. So it's interesting, right? Because the less necessary it becomes to go places in person doesn't mean it isn't something you should still do. Would you agree, guys?
Yeah, we used to call it smart hands. You need smart people with physical ability to touch things at the remote location, and that's becoming less and less. Wi-Fi really took away the need to go into the wiring cabinets and plug cables in, and now automation AI is making those smart hands really needed in the back room instead of the front room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's easy to forget that personal interaction is so important.
Yeah.
That personal interaction is what gives you the ability to have the empathy. You can gain empathy over a Zoom meeting, but it's not the same. That human connection that I think because of the pandemic and then because of the work from home over the years has widened that gap. And so having those opportunities to meet in person is really, in my opinion, key to success.
And many people have heard me talk about visiting 40 of our field offices at the Hartford, and I came back from those trips with a completely different view of what employees were struggling with. I had some just oh my God moments. How can you possibly even get your job done and you don't have that when you're remote.
Well, I don't know that you can't have those experiences, even if you go into it not with that in mind. You can't have those experiences and not come back feeling that way.
Yeah.
You didn't realize what a bad job you guys were doing, right? That was the truth of it. I've heard these stories about, don't quote me there, don't quote me. Before next thing. So there was a phrase on your LinkedIn stood out to me before I let Tim ask his questions. The phrase was artist's vision. And it's something, kind of defined your philosophy and your approach as a leader at Edward Jones and in your previous roles, implementing DEX. Tell us why you chose those words and what they mean.
Sure. So first and foremost, I am an artist at heart.
Right.
I'm a pianist. I paint. And the power of DEX isn't in the X's and O's of process. It's in the ability to think innovatively, to think big picture, to be able to connect dots and truly be creative in the solutions. So having that artistic mindset, that creative mindset, opens up opportunities and doors that most engineers don't even know exist. And that's why I think it's critical. I tell my team when we get together, and we do this once a month, we go into a room, we close the door, and we brainstorm. And I tell them, don't bring an umbrella to the brainstorm. right? Let's go in there and let's throw ideas up on the board.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's going to be some silly stuff, right? And you go down paths that you never thought you'd go down. But the creativity in that leads to successes.
Absolutely.
So we did this 2 weeks ago, and on our board now are 51 items, 51 that are on our current backlog of things that we're going to implement inside Nexthink. And not just simple like RAs, but we're talking very thorough and deep flows, integrations into other systems and solutions. That wouldn't happen if you don't go in with that creative mindset and really think about things from that different perspective.
Very cool.
So we're both real active on LinkedIn. I follow a lot of your posts, and what I love about the material you put out there is it's in the context of the problem that people are trying to solve with technology and not about the solution. What did your team was in Boston as well, have you had a chance to debrief with them, and kind of what were the takeaways from Boston in terms of solving problems, and what was their opinion of the Boston event?
So the team always looks forward to these events. And we did get a chance to debrief, and the thought coming out of this year, and we've been, 4 years now, the thought really coming out of Boston's event was just how great it is to see that there are other customers using Nexthink in different, smart, innovative ways. For a long time, it was we buy it,
Sure.
It's a solution that most people think you can just stand up, you install some library packs, and you gather information. But seeing that the way that the community has evolved, this year was the biggest thing. And so, as I mentioned, we went into a boardroom after the event, we whiteboarded, and there were a lot of things for the first time that we were able to say, so-and-so over here is doing this, we should think about it, or so-and-so over there. And so it's great to see that the community's evolving, and Nexthink does a wonderful job. I mean, these events are amazing. If you haven't been to one of these events, I highly recommend it. You cannot miss out. There are things that you will see that you can get on a roadmap discussion or meeting with your CSM or just your salesperson. But it's meeting, it's networking. You already mentioned that, Tim, right? So you come, you network, you talk to others, and John and Charlotte and Sarah, and others, right? I work with them in the States, so I apologize for not mentioning everybody here, but they do an amazing job in bringing the ambassador community together and setting up the user events in such a way that it's the diversity of thought that is amazing. And so if you haven't been, come for that. Talk to people.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest takeaway this time, was that there are ideas and things that people are doing that we hadn't thought about. And we tend to think that we're incredibly mature in the space, and I think we are.
Yeah,
we have
exactly.
close to 150 applications and AppX. We've got dozens of flows, remote actions saving tens of thousands of dollars. But the reality is the power in networking and meeting with others is where the strength is.
And creativity, right? Brings it back to the artist vision idea. There is an intense creative aspect to DEX where it's open to what you can think of and what you can do with it. And you're not going to have every single idea yourself, right?
And I can tell you about a visit to Big Ben or my tour at Tower of London. I can show you pictures, but it's not like being there. Right, you really have to go and experience it for yourself. So your team went to Boston. They got some takeaways. I would view them as the front line, the DEX front line. You're here in London. What's your expectation here in London that might be different from what your team got in Boston?
So I'm very fortunate in that I've been able to travel this last year around the States to different user groups and different Gartner events even, and talk to others in the States who are doing DEX. And full disclosure, I own other DEX solutions as well, so not just Nexthink, although it is our primary tool. And so the challenges that everybody has within the DEX space, regardless of the tool, are the same. And so it was important for me to come over here, and I had a lot of conversations with John and Charlotte about, okay, are there differences between what the customers are doing overseas versus what they're doing in the States? Because a lot of those conversations tended over the course of the year to be the same. And so the answer was yes. There are some things that are being done over here differently. So again, my mind is more strategic around DEX solutions than being in the weeds, hands-on keyboard. I wanted to come over and talk to other customers and see what they were doing. It leads back again to the diversity of thought, the diversity of solutions. And so that's why I'm here.
Very cool.
So you outlined it a little bit, but if you were talking to another organization or a peer, what would be the one or two things that you would use to convince them to come?
Really, the one or two things is that networking diversity piece. You know, a lot of times we tend to think, not just DEX, but just in life in general, that we have all the answers, we know everything, and we don't. There are other perspectives, there's other ways of doing things, and exploring those other ways are critical. The second piece to that really is along the same lines of the networking. The fact that you build relationships, and you may not know why you built that relationship today, but that relationship may be important in 3 months from now or 6 months from now. And especially when those some people run into issues or have challenges, they can reach out and get help, and you can help them out, or they can help you out.
Sure. And then you can go back and position it as, hey, I had a great idea.
Absolutely.
Let's go do this. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, thanks for joining us. And I don't know how I felt about being Tim over-Timmed here.
Tim squared.
You know, Tim, and Tom.
It's a great name.
Tim Squared is a good podcast name. Maybe a podcast about being called Tim.
Let's talk. I got a little travel
I was going to
experience.
say,
We can chat.
yeah.
Traveling as a Tim.
Yeah. Tim's travels.
Listen, discussion for another time, guys. But a great pleasure to see you.
Hey,
It's lovely to meet another
likewise.
person
Good seeing
from
you
Edward
again.
Jones. Always a pleasure to work with you guys. And thanks for coming all the way to London.
Absolutely.
And coming on the DEX Show. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you
so
Anytime.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See you soon. And we're a smoothly running machine here, folks, which means, unlike Boston at every point, we have our second guest already lined up, ready to join us, Casper van Amelsvoort. He's here from Rabobank. Casper, welcome. Great to see you, man.
Good to
How
be
you
here.
doing?
Casper, how are you?
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah, welcome.
I just assume, like, being from Rabobank, this isn't your first experience. Am I assuming wrong?
No, you're right.
Is that right?
My
Okay.
first was in 2019.
Okay, that's pretty
So,
good lineage.
5
you got
years
there.
ago.
Yeah. What keeps you coming back? We just heard from Tim some thoughts on that. but,
Yeah, actually, I noticed that you didn't mention Tim Tams. And because you've never been to Australia, because that's the national chocolate cookie there. So, so if you're talking about Tim
I
and travels,
indulged.
He was just in
The Tim
Australia.
Tams are very good.
Oh my God, they named a cookie after you.
did.
This is huge, right?
okay, so that's a bit of cultural.
We're going to
nugget.
change
Nice,
it to
nice,
Tim
I like
Tom.
it.
They're going to be Tim Toms instead of Tim
Tim
Tams.
Toms, that's what
Yeah, that's well.
He always gets all the shine, Casper.
No, so why do I keep coming back? I think it's the people mainly. I mean, you can view the recordings of all the presentations afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's talking to people like yourselves in the halls and just catching up with old friends and old, business partners as well. And also hearing from other companies how they're using Nexthink and what their challenges are and their solutions are.
And I got to ask, what do you think of the tobacco dock?
It's a cool location.
Literally.
I can imagine it's
Yeah, so that was my. it's frigid, but no. In
Frigid
the room,
is strong. Frigid is strong.
well, okay.
Cool is about that.
Freezing.
Freezing.
But
It's
no,
cool in it's okay in the rooms. In the rooms is good, but
yeah. I mean, I'm wearing my ambassador jacket also for warmth.
Sure. Yeah.
So no, the location is great, and it's great that you're always looking for these. Well, I would say inspiring locations as well.
Exactly so. Exactly what I know they're going for, and I think they found it here. And speaking of inspiring, Rabobank, real trailblazer in DEX. I've been hearing about the account for as long as I've been a Nexthinker.
Yeah.
Maybe for people who don't know Rabobank, a potted history of that dynamic and of your own role inside it.
Okay, yeah. So Rabobank is a global agricultural and farming bank, but we're in 36 countries globally. Almost 45,000 employees, more than 55,000 endpoints. We trialed Nexthink, like 5 years ago, to see if it could help us improve user experience. And by now, it's fully ingrained in a lot of processes. And we're my department, I'm the product owner responsible for Nexthink, but also for a lot of data. So I've got multiple squads that I manage. We're integrating it now also with HR and facilities processes. So we're looking at what we call internal user journeys.
Interesting.
And talking about DEX, we're trying to measure KVIs, key value indicators of those user journeys, but across IT, HR, and facilities, and have that feedback loop, and using Nexthink as a tool not only to prevent issues, but also get the feedback from the users on what they think of the improvements and if they're working or not.
How far is that implementation along at the moment?
Oh yeah, so we've identified something like in the range of 40 to 50 user journeys, and that's user onboarding, joining the company, that's a user journey, but also, for instance, booking a business trip, that's a user journey.
Sure.
So we've got these macro user journeys, and some of them are just IT, replacing your laptop or requesting access. Those are also user journeys, so macro and micro journeys. And we're expanding the use of Nexthink to collect those user feedback through surveys. I hope actually to expand that into looking at user behavior to see how they're actually acting in those journeys.
Sure.
But the first step is just asking them. But I think the quality of the data actually will become better if we're looking at what they're doing exactly and not just asking them.
It's interesting. I think the feedback is so important. A lot of people are afraid to get feedback because it might expose them to some feedback they might not want to hear, but you have to know how they're feeling so you can take the right actions. Tim talked a little bit about the creativity aspect of problem solutioning. What are some of the things that you've done at Rabobank that you're kind of over the last year or two that have brought out some of that creativity? What are you most proud of that you've been able to conquer?
So Nexthink is a big toolbox. And we've really tried to push the limits of what we can do with Nexthink. So we were doing flow before flow existed, actually. So one of the very large use cases, large in the sense of valuable use cases we've had, is updating a piece of software called Templify, which maybe not a lot of people have heard of, but it's a plugin for Office and that has templates. It also is a software provider who thinks we'll just update software by providing a link to their update page. That doesn't work for us. So we've constructed a whole range of remote actions to trigger off of each other to update this software in the background. It doesn't work through SSCM. This saves around 45 minutes per machine per user. So in our case, that would be a total value of 3 million euros. Without any user impact, and the user actually is notified, we've upgraded your Templify.
Just that one use case.
That's one amazing use case. That's one example. But what I see us doing more and more is becoming more proactive, especially with large IT changes. So migrating to Windows 11, we've migrated our authentication method, we're migrating our VPN clients, and all these have big user impact, and we're trying to reduce that impact as much as possible. So we're really more towards improving those user journeys, being proactive, preventative in shaping their experience with the digital workplace.
So we talk with a lot of IT people about IT benefit in those employee journeys and in your feedback loop. Do you get feedback from the business about the value that IT is bringing on the business side versus the value to your IT folks?
As I work for a bank, not a lot of people understand that the bank is basically a big IT company. We're the biggest IT company in the Netherlands, which not a lot of people know. So the business side, in our case, is a really thin layer across a lot of IT applications. So sometimes it's very hard to draw the line between business and IT because it's almost the same thing in my case. But we see, for instance, our largest CRM application, also in our top 10 of most reported incidents at the service desk, they're very happy with the insights we give them through application experience. Also, our IT help desk is very happy with Amplify in improving their way of working, the way they can handle level 1 tickets which don't have to become level 2 or level 3 tickets through Amplify. So we get a lot of, it has been a slow build, I have to say. But now we're getting a lot of credits. Actually, people are referring other responsible teams to my team saying, maybe these guys can help you. Because we're getting the difficult problems. Anything that can be solved within those teams, they solve themselves. They come to us when they're like, we're really stuck. We don't have visibility. We don't know how to do this. Help us, please. We're almost a lender of last resort, as you could say, but then within DEX.
So you touched on a team that, as I've traveled the world, I've been in a few cities this year. One of the overwhelming topics, other than AI, has been the future of the service desk. How does it continue to evolve, even to the point of positioning it as the death of the service desk? We need to kill it and allow it to be reborn. How does the service desk play into your vision, your future strategy at the bank?
We have a one entry strategy. So currently we have a separate IT service desk who's, over the past 5 to 7 years already been reduced quite considerably, one step left, right? So we've taught our users to help themselves through our IT portal, through chatbots, but now we're doing the same thing with the HR service desk and the facility service desk. So in the end, you will have one entry, so one chatbot, one phone number to call, and so one address to go to. And we're using Nexthink for all those processes. Obviously, Nexthink is much more suited to IT problems. Right. I mean, we can't solve pregnancy leave with Nexthink yet, or fix a broken toilet with Nexthink yet. So there are HR and facilities.
You haven't seen tomorrow's keynote.
We'll talk to the product team. We'll get it on the roadmap.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to answer your question about the future of the service desk. I think it will still be here, but in a much more focused and efficient way of working. Because there's always stuff. I mean, password resets. There's a lot of security issues there, so you always will have a kind of a service desk to assist users. If they can't log in, can't access any of the devices, they need to be able to reach out. Yeah.
We had a great chat with Tim before you about like inspiration, about collaboration, about talking to your peers and getting ideas. When you look across the next year at Rabobank, and you know there are areas you want some inspiration on. Yeah. Are there any in particular that have brought you to Experience this year, or that you have your radar out for at Experience 24? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always great to see my compatriots from the Netherlands. We have a user group in the Netherlands, but
surely you bump into each other quite a lot.
We have to plan that. I mean, everybody's very busy. But I always love to hear examples from other big companies. I've had a lot of inspiration in the past from Roche about their value model. How do you stick value on what you do with Nexthink? I've seen others examples about self-service intranet sites where I'm taking inspiration from. So I think that's the value of actually coming together in person, is having those conversations and talk to each other. And
it's interesting, you're a very kind of eco-friendly, eco-aware bank. You actually, did I hear you chose not to fly? To be kind of more conscious of carbon footprint.
So within Europe, we're not allowed to fly. So I came by train, which is perfectly fine. Actually, much more luxurious experience than flying and being stuck squeezed into a seat in an airplane. And it doesn't even, at least from the Netherlands, it doesn't even take that much more time.
Sure.
It is more expensive, but that's subsidies for the airlines for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, a great pleasure to talk to you, Casper. And hope we see this as an opportunity to meet new potential future guests for the show in 2025. So we'd love it if you came on.
Oh, no problem.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of the experience. Thanks so much for doing this, man.
Thanks, Casper.
Thank you. Good luck. See you later.
Thanks, Casper. And one of the really nice things about experiences, Tim, is you get to see people you only see at these events. People you get along with, people you enjoy working with. And I can absolutely say that our next guest, Dhan from Tokio Marine, somebody I met at Experience last year. I worked with him on the build-up to his keynote a little bit, and it's a pleasure to welcome him to the DEX Show. Dhan, great to see you again, man. How you doing?
Tim, how are you? Good to see you.
So it's been a year. How have you been?
Yeah, been really well. Lovely venue.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very lovely.
And you're with short sleeves as well, so you know.
Well, but I did think it might be a bit drafty, so.
Okay.
That's why I've got the gilet on. Representing the company as well.
Have you heard there are long sleeve shirts and things?
No.
This is a thing. Okay.
No, I haven't.
I'll hook you up.
Thank you. Where would I be without your sartorial elegance?
There you go. Other than the venue and the event, all well? How's Tokio Marine?
Yeah, Tokio Marine's really good. Moving onwards and upwards. Taking on the insurance world.
Nice.
Little by little. So it's really good.
Good stuff. And you were genuinely one of my main stage highlights in London last year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell us what 2024 has been like in terms of digital experience at Tokio Marine. Any key milestones or achievements that you'd really single out from that period?
Well, yeah, I think we built a lot on the success from 2023,
Sure.
which is when we really kind of introduced DEX to Tokyo Marine International. So there's a lot more management buy-in, there's a lot more support for what we're doing, there's a lot more understanding. I think what we've done this year is we're really focused on getting continual feedback from our employees. Last year we were very much big bang, kind of like staff surveys and things like that. This year we've moved to a much better methodology of gathering that, which is by pulsing. So there's been a lot more support for that, a lot more understanding. We've also had, outside of technology, we've had a lot more user interactions.
Yeah.
Employees are finding that, when they're feeding back in the forums, we are taking action, building up on that trust that I talked about at the keynote last year, and they're talking to us more, which is a really, really good thing.
So there's a lot of talk, not just about the service desk, but that this is kind of the point in the DEX journey of the tipping point, right? People are starting to become more aware of it. Magic Quadrants out, the Forrester Wave, new technologies, AI being inserted into just about everything. Are you seeing kind of more attention, more awareness paid to DEX as a technology discipline, or the frontline people really catching on?
Well, I think, look, Tim, I think DEX has been around for a long time, but it's been known under other labels and in different guises. I think with the structure and framework that you have with DEX, it gives an opportunity for people to understand it more. So technologists are definitely committed to it because they're seeing non-technologists are committed to it and buying in. Again, non-technologists, senior management, they understanding now that DEX is a differentiator.
Yeah.
Successful companies do DEX, and DEX does successful companies. That's the way we're seeing it. That's the way I think of it. In terms of, frontline and technology staff, if you just look at LinkedIn and search for roles, DEX is there in abundance.
Yeah.
Which, perhaps, 18 months ago, it wasn't so much. And then, I think it's a great opportunity because people can really build and develop careers around DEX. And yeah, we might be at the dipping point now, but I think it's only going to get stronger and more embedded and expand, on its remit to improve. And like I said, I think it really is a key differentiator between successful companies and those that aren't.
What's the secret, Dhan, to capitalizing on that momentum that's been building up this year, either as a company or as an industry?
I think you've got to keep going. And, I think one of the kind of challenges that I've always had is we've got so many inputs. We always have had. It's a lot easier to digest now with user sentiment, understanding, how we can measure and calculate and improve DEX. But you've got to do something with all of that information. And that's not to do with technology. That's to do with people and organization. And you've got to invest in it. So if you want it to make a difference and we want DEX to kind of continue to grow, you've got to put investment in it and you've got to do what you say. I think, you've got to continue engendering that trust, and then people buy into it more and more.
So it wouldn't be an episode without talking about AI. Right?
Yes.
AI is still everywhere. Gartner does a really good job at simplifying complicated things. Been to a number of Gartner conferences, and their the real push this year was to talk about AI in two different buckets. One is, and it's all a race. We're all feeling like we're going to catch up to AI or implement this thing quickly, but they separated it into two categories. One is the vendor race, the vendor needing to put AI into their product, and the other race was, as an enterprise IT organization, how do I leverage AI internally for the benefit of my company and my teams? Where do you see AI fitting in terms of the team journey, the individual journey, your individual career? Do you see it as a risk or a partner and a benefit to your career?
Oh no, I'd definitely say AI as a partner and a benefit. It's really exciting. The things that we could potentially achieve are phenomenal. But I also would temper that and say, as great and as exciting as AI is, especially for technologists and geeks, if you like, it's another tool in the armory.
Yeah.
And that's a very good way of putting it, that, the vendors or everyone in the dog is putting Gen AI modules in, but really how much value is it giving you? There's a lot of scaremongering around people losing their jobs. But the way I see it is that AI can bring you benefits and efficiencies, and it can actually release your technologists to work on higher order things.
Exactly.
So I definitely see it as something exciting, something that we can build on, and I'm really excited to see where we're going. I mean, some of the things that I've seen in and around the market are perhaps, there could be some sort of AI, if it's not already, in some guys, which will tell you and monitor how a user is working.
Right.
And could come back and say, hey, this person needs a greater laptop, or, this person needs, a bigger screen, or they're always on this program so many times. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that really come through. So yes, there's lots of benefits on logging and flogging tickets and AI taking care of that. But I'm also looking at the more advanced, sophisticated benefits that AI can give us. And really, again, make our jobs easier, more fun, and make employees' experience much better.
Those were the two subtopics. Was it's not an easy button. AI is not going to come in and solve all your problems.
No way.
You've got to give it the right attention it needs to make it do what you want it to do. And the other one was, don't think it's as cheap as you might think, right? You've got to make sure you're planning your budgets the right way and do the right thing.
I think the thing is, look, it's a weird place to be, because nobody wants to get left behind, but also nobody wants to get saddled down with something monolithic that they can't support and doesn't actually do what it said on the tin in the first place. Yeah. So I think a lot of people are a bit cautious and seeing, how other people do. And look, in fits and starts, AI is already there in many ways.
Sure.
You may not know it, but it is there in some of the products you use today.
It's been in ours for 20 years, right? It's why we can add on and evolve AI in the product, because it's part of our core.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure. Dhan, we hope to see you presenting again next year. If you could focus on one goal, one milestone that you could achieve at TM over the next 12 months, that you could then bring to the main stage at Experience London 2025. Difficult question, but can you answer it? What would it be?
So look, I always read this memes around the panda and the dragon, right? That it's not about the journey or the destination, it's about the company.
Okay.
And so far in my DEX journey, I felt I've been having some good company from Nexthink, and we've been inspiring each other.
Nice, yeah.
And what I'd like to say, thinking about that question, is I'd love to be able to present the evolution of DEX next year. Where have we gone on, what benefits potentially from AI, and what are the next steps that we've taken. So my goal would be to sort of come back and say, well, look, here's where we were 2 years ago. This is where we come on in leaps and bounds. These are the things we've learned along the way, and share that journey with the right company.
2 years in, kind of thing.
2 years. And I love people talking about, here's what our plan was, here's what reality is, here's what we actually accomplished, to demonstrate that you can actually set that plan out and get some really great stuff done. Very cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, always a pleasure, Dhan, and
Thank
best
you very
of luck
much.
to you and Tokio Marine over the next 12 months. Always great working with you guys. And
Pleasure.
Take care. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
very
on
much.
the DEX
Cheers.
Show, man. Take care.
Well, thanks,
Enjoy
Dan.
the rest of
Guys,
Experience.
cheers.
We've got 2 more guests to join us to round out the show, everyone. We've just got to reset the cameras to be able to welcome them on. And our mics are hot, Tim. Our mics are
Be
hot.
careful what you say.
Be careful. So we are at the end of our second Experience 2024 DEX Show of the Experience season. We've had so far 7 fantastic guests, Tim, and we're going to end with 2 fantastic guests. So I'd like to welcome Qasim Ali from Haleon and Saurabh Sharma from HCL. Come on, guys, join us.
Little applause.
Welcome, Qasim. Good to see you. Hi, Saurabh. Nice to meet you. How's it going? We decided to double up to end on a high, guys.
Yeah.
Nice to see you both here. Qasim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
But I think you're the only podcast, because you might need to be a little nearer of a mic. You're the only podcast guest we've had over these 2 experiences who's also going to be appearing on the main stage tomorrow. How are you feeling about that? Have you gone and had a look? It's quite a big space. You
Absolutely.
Feeling
No,
excited?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great event. The vibe seems really positive and everybody seems really engaging. So I'm really looking forward to speaking tomorrow.
Is it your first experience?
It is my first experience, yes.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. I'm glad it's made a good impression so far. People will be listening and they'll be able to go over to the on-demand site and maybe enjoy your presentation after the fact by the time this is out. So why don't you tell them a little bit about what you're covering?
Yeah, so what I'll be covering tomorrow is, well, actually, how do you underpin DEX with business success? And it sounds pretty straightforward to me, but what I found in conversations with other people is that maybe it's not as intrinsically linked to them, and helping people understand that is that a good DEX experience means that you can support the business outcomes in a much more predictable manner.
Fantastic. And I should say, before I worked with you on the keynote a little bit, and Haleon wasn't familiar to me, but many of the brands are, right? You're a consumer healthcare brand, and anyone who's kind of British is going to know a lot of your products, right? So
globally. So we have 9 what we call power brands. So I'll name just a few: Sensodyne, Voltarol, Advil, etc. They're all the brands that we're absolutely proud of to have within our portfolio.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
I love the concept of, or the thought of, talking about the business value, because we talk to a lot of IT people, and I think in some circles, DEX is seen as a tool set to provide better break fix. And it's so much more than that. And getting the business side and the value of the business is going to be really great to hear.
Yeah, 100%.
Saurabh, welcome to you. Welcome to HCL. Talk a little bit about what brings the team here. What's the draw to have you come to Experience?
Yeah, so we've got a decade-old partnership with Nexthink right from inception. I've attended every single Experience event ever since, and I'm happy to see that it's getting bigger, it's getting grander, it's getting more interesting. We are the platinum sponsors at the event. So why are we at the event? 2 main reasons. One is to share our experience of working with 400 plus global customers. The journeys we've seen those customers take in terms of measuring DEX, tying it to vertical and business outcomes, the hiccups they had on the way, what is the right way to deploy, monitor, measure. In fact, DEX, as you said, it's the vector that defines the direction of partnership we have with our customers now. So we want to share that with customers at the event. The second is to learn. If we combine the power of, say, a co-pilot or agentic AI with analytics and the ability to execute, what that potential looks like, and also on the adoption side, if you marry the domains of DEX with DApp platforms, which is digital adoption platforms, what kind of power you can unleash in digital workspaces and workplaces. So those are the prime reasons we are here, and we're always here.
And one of HCL's strengths is, and especially in helping customers like Haleon, is implementation, right? You can't have the great business outcomes if you don't have a really solid implementation that includes a plan. Talk a little bit about how you support your clients with the right implementation.
Sure. So you're right that implementation is extremely crucial. But I think what we really believe is right from value definition to value execution, which entails the entire value chain of consulting, which is defining for the customers what experience really means for you.
Right.
It can mean anything. DEX can mean anything to any organization, right? What are the parameters critical for you? What are the applications critical for you? What are the business units important for you? So marrying that vertical nuance into the DEX platform, capturing that is very important. And then, of course, doing proof of values, POCs, doing the implementation, and also integrating, which is the extensibility. How do you integrate a DEX platform with, say, a Microsoft Copilot to execute certain things? With a bot, it could be any bot that you deploy, right? So the entire journey is very important for us, right from consulting to implementation to adoption. And that's what we are working on, supporting all our customers with like Haleon.
That's great. So as you talk to other clients, other customers, whether it's an IT leader or a business leader, what kind of information, how do you convince folks to actually come to the event?
We tell them that if you want to know about what is the future of workplace, future of DEX, it is probably the most important and the biggest event which is there. There's opportunities to learn from your peers in the same vertical, which could be pharma, auto, how they are evaluating their journey or taking their journey. Ability to talk to partners like HCL Tech, and ability to network with your peers in the organization. So that's how we communicate to our customers that you should attend the event.
Qasim, this is your first experience, as you say, and you're obviously presenting on some of your achievements so far at Haleon and your strategy overall. But thinking about the future and the opportunity that you have in talking to peers at an event like this and hearing from other organizations, is there any particular area you'd really like to get a good download on from peers who are doing things, in whether it's AI or anything else, that you've really got your radar out for this year or while you're here?
Yeah, I think the area that I'm most interested in hearing what people are doing is not in the technical space. I think, implementation, etc., through partners like HCL, etc. I think that's all well understood in terms of the challenges, etc., that organizations have there. The area that I'm most interested in speaking to people is about adoption. How are you using, DEX to really drive adoption of digital capability? And how are you able to articulate that benefit to the organization? I think technology can always get full foul of just being a technical thing that's getting done with a means to an end, but actually it goes much broader than that. It is about the business outcomes and the business benefit.
Yep.
And I want to understand how organizations are tackling that translation from delivery of a technical product into what does it actually mean for the business.
I love it. I mean, just make sure you're there from 10 a.m. in the main stage tomorrow. You're going to hear a lot about that. Guys, stay right where you are if you would. Thanks so much, both of you, for coming on. It's lovely to talk to you both. And best of luck tomorrow with the presentation. And a reminder to the audience, they can probably find Qasim's presentation by the time they hear this by following the link in the show note to the on-demand DEX Show Experience London on-demand site. Just remains for me to say thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for everybody, all of our guests across London, across Boston. Thank you to the team who helped put this together.
The team is
put Boston
outstanding.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a fantastic setup. We've really enjoyed it. So thanks to Sarah and Kathryn and Justin and Jack and Ella. We really appreciate you all. It's been huge fun to do it. And we hope everybody listening here in the hall or at home enjoys Experience live or on demand. And we'll see you next week for another DEX show. Thanks so much, everybody. Cheers.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
Thank you.
You.